The Nintendo GameCube sold 21.74 million units and was the worst-selling console of its generation. But many boys bought the GameCube, and those that did had their lives changed forever. These are their stories. Here is footage from November 18th, 2001, the launch day of the GameCube. These people were buying PS2s. What is your first experience with the GameCube?
Well, I was filled with this overwhelming sense of euphoria and peace.
It was very quiet. It was in a church. There was a lot of people crying.
You're like, I can't turn away. And an hour and a half later, your head feels like it's going to explode. And you're okay.
I knew that my life would never be the same again. It was also more than a little bit arousing.
It was on Christmas morning. I got Pikmin 3 and Luigi's Mansion with my GameCube. Beforehand, I didn't get a console because my dad said Nintendo would rot your brain. Of course, it was right, and I dropped out of college recently.
It's the gay cube.
It's the gay game party cube.
Yes.
Waking up Christmas morning, I learned how to plug in the GameCube myself and everything, followed the instruction manual. I thought it was so smart. Played Pikmin and Luigi's Mansion. It was awesome.
I think the only good thing in that entire generation was the PS2.
I was definitely I got a GameCube. Like that was my thing, was the GameCube.
Of course, the Nintendo GameCube wasn't always the GameCube. In development, it was originally referred to as Nintendo Dolphin or Project Dolphin. Recently, development kits have leaked their way from former developers into the hands of collectors.
Here we go. Oh man, you know what? My first impressions is that the Nintendo Design Masters were really just like going overtime with this amazing, sleek design. Like, I think of power, efficiency, speed. It's so aerodynamic. I just love it. It just fills me. Okay, so we've got up, down, and look at this. Open and close. It's so efficient. Error? Well, if you want errors in your game, you just press this, and if you don't want them, you don't press it. It's finally fixed that problem. And here's the Nintendo logo, the new Nintendo logo. It's Nintendo, nice and classic, but since it's the dolphin, they have a picture of a dolphin. It's not an angry, scary dolphin. This isn't like an in-your-face 90s dolphin. This is like a really friendly dolphin. He may be a little bit slow, but he's really nice, guys. We call this the game hole. You just shove your games right in here. And 1, maybe 6 fit in there. It's really great.
So what do you say? You want me to hook it up? Alright. That is one hot dolphin. Alright, there's gonna be a lot of information leaving that backside now. Device not ready. I got a boner for nothing.
However, when the Dolphin was put into production, Nintendo ran into some serious problems. You know, the GameCube was originally called the Nintendo Dolphin when it was in a prototypical phase. Tell me about the Nintendo Dolphin and the ultimate switch over to call it the GameCube.
Well, the initial design for a dolphin was to actually implant the GameCube inside a living dolphin, which would require you to have like one of those children's pools in your house so that the dolphin could splash around and wouldn't dry out. But it was very unsafe because you had to obviously keep it plugged in as well. And so the back of the dolphin would have to stay above water, but the rest of the dolphin would have to stay below. And also, the cube shape allows you to stack them on top of each other very high, which is a definite plus, obviously. Whereas the dolphins, if you try to stack dolphins, you can't get them more than 4 high, or else they'll just start going crazy, and the one on the bottom doesn't like all the pressure. And a lot of people got bitten, seriously bitten, by dolphins who had too much pressure applied to them.
So Nintendo went from their sleek, curvy Dolphin to the hard-edged GameCube. But would this new design be accepted?
Well, everyone knows that the GameCube handle is in fact not a handle, but an arc, to kill people with OCD when they find that they cannot perfectly insert it to any corner.
It has a nice body, with the curves in all the right places. Purple's a pretty nice colour.
998.
Well, let's look at this thing. It has dust from so much use.
I never even looked at this thing before. What are all these ports underneath of it? What are all these serial ports? I can like, it's half unused space. You know, they are liars. Because the width is not the same as the height. So it's not a cube. Overall, I honestly think that the controller feels a little cheap. The buttons are all kind of stiff and super plasticky.
I don't think I've ever used the handle on it. Well, yeah, like bringing it to the upstairs TV or the downstairs TV or over to Natasha's, I'd hold it by the handle.
Okay.
It just seemed like the right thing to do.
Well, I mean, it's the right thing to do. I've just never heard of it before.
No, I forgot it had a handle. I guess I could convert it to a lunchbox.
What about the GameCube is inherently superior and therefore had a trickle-down effect onto its games?
Well, it's a cube, which is one of the most advanced shapes known to man. It's more advanced than the triangle, but it's not as far as the dodecahedron, which is actually illegal in several states.
Tell us more about why the dodecahedron is illegal and why the cube would ultimately be the kind of the second choice for those who are opting for the latter.
Well, they built a lot of houses in the shapes of dodecahedrons back in the 70s, but they had rooms that would only exist at certain times and certain days, and a lot of people lost children in those rooms, and then they'd appear years later after their parents had already gotten old and died, but the children would still be the same age, and so it was a big problem.
This is Jarrett.
I'm drunk.
And I'm Justy, and we're from Silvermania Show, and our
He's
show...
fat.
I'm going to show you some things. I want you to say the first thing that comes to your mind.
Can we be racist? Ugly. The color was ugly.
Fucking
ugly.
ugly.
Look at that ass.
I had the silver one.
Oh, shit.
Look at those ports.
I want to handle that tonight.
There's 3 holes. The black one was way cooler.
Yeah.
The darker one.
Rodney King.
The system's cubic design was in place, but would financial woes prevent Nintendo from releasing the GameCube worldwide?
So Nintendo was going through a little bit of financial trouble at this point in their history. They put all of their money into their #1 video game console, the Virtual Boy, which, as we all know, is the #1 video game console both financially and critically. More and more Virtual Boys are being sold today until it was controversially sold off to Facebook. Realizing that Nintendo couldn't possibly live up to the excellent standard that the Virtual Boy had brought, they decided that for their next system, the GameCube would be kickstarted. The GameCube was one of the early examples of the home video game console to be crowdfunded. The Kickstarter had some really interesting perks to it, such as your name in the manual, which turned out to be the longest manual ever made, running 18,000 pages, and even the option of having one of the most exciting perks, the Mother compilation. It's the first time the Mother games have been compiled 1, 2, and 3 and made playable outside of Japan. Could you imagine if Nintendo were thick-skulled enough to never do that? The Kickstarter had some really interesting stretch goals as well, such as buying the rights to Super Mario again from EA, and even the option of having a controller for the system, which almost didn't happen.
Nintendo began to face stiff competition from the PlayStation 2 and the upcoming Xbox. But how was the GameCube experience? How did it compare?
I owned one GameCube game back in the day, and it was Resident Evil 4. I bought that at launch. That was awesome. Worst GameCube experience. Maybe it was buying Star Fox Adventures and expecting a Star Fox game, and instead getting a cheesy Zelda clone. Yes, I did have peripherals for the GameCube. I had the GBA adapter.
The Game Boy Advance player was friggin' awesome.
But
there it is.
You need the CD.
I need the disc though. Do you have the disc for it?
They might do, yeah, they do.
Yo, you want to send it over here so I can have it?
They need it for theirs.
It's expensive.
I felt a burning in my stomachal region, right there, and it hurt. It hurt so bad, Lord Jesus. I got colitis, and it was just so painful. It doubled me over, not tripled, doubled. I spent 2 days in the hospital, Lord Jesus. right around Christmas. Little baby Jesus time. And it hurt. My good friend Tony, he came visited me, and he gave me Nintendo Power. It kept me powerful through the whole time, Lord Jesus. Thank you, Lord Jesus, for Nintendo Power. It kept me going. It got me so unconstipational.
Out of everything that I picked the GameCube because I love the N64 so much, and I wanted to stick with the Nintendo kind of thing. And Super Smash Brothers came out afterwards, so that was like a big selling point for me.
I definitely didn't have a GameCube. I had friends that did, but I wasn't too into Mario Sunshine and
well, no,
there wasn't a Star Fox game. Well, there were, but let's not talk about those.
I don't know, I find a lot of the classics took a step in a new direction on the GameCube. Like, for one, like, it didn't have a Mario launch title, and it was the first Star Fox game that I know of where he wasn't in his ship, right? And like having Luigi as the main character in his own title, like, I know there was a game for Super Nintendo like that, but it wasn't the same.
That was definitely not the same. Yeah,
like, this was the first time you got to actually play as Luigi. You know?
Sure. That other game was also very much universally panned as being, not the best game. Whereas,
oh no, but it was okay. It was fun.
You mean the SNES game?
No, that wasn't fun.
Any game that if I wanted to play on the GameCube was already out for the PS2 or anything like that.
Sure.
I will always remember Nintendo's GameCube for the simple fact that it left a large dent in my bedroom floor.
Oh, and honestly, right now, like, I wish I kind of went back and played some GameCube clubs because I want to play Sunshine because then
sure,
that's Frank's favorite Mario game.
Who fucks Frank?
Okay, and
how do you think Nintendo's coverage of the GameCube was?
A lot of boys bought the GameCube, but the coverage was about as good as a spotty shower and a rainstorm. It's a little spotty, kind of like a light flow, kind of like a purple tampon, if you will.
Smuggler's Run. It was a Rockstar game. Pretty much, you just drive in a car, you go around, you have to pick up contraband and then bring it to another area. And it's the most fun, like, party game I've ever played. You guys should definitely check it out. But I remember playing it for the GameCube. Like, all the music in it's great. It's all like this like house music and stuff like that, and it's really awesome. But then I played it on the PlayStation too, and it just wasn't the same thing.
Luke had a Game Boy Advance. My sister had a Game Boy Advance. And then I bought Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. And you could only play multiplayer in that game if you had your Game Boy Advances hooked up as controllers. So we bought adapters for that so we could play that game. And it still sucked.
The PlayStation 2 far outsold the GameCube, earning a lifetime sales record of 155 million units sold worldwide. Was the GameCube dead in the water?
They say that a lot of boys had the GameCube. Well, the truth is that I wasn't one of those boys.
Favorite GameCube game?
I didn't actually get my GameCube until years after, about a year after the Wii came out.
What are your top 5 reasons why the GameCube is or is not sexually attractive? Okay, top 5 reasons why it's not sexually attractive. I don't know, it's an inanimate object. Although, that's not a good reason. Because, what if somebody made, like... No, it's an inanimate object.
What I pretty much use the GameCube for these days, and some of you might laugh at this, is for the Game Boy player.
Do you own any GameCube peripherals? GBA adapter, etc. I like how you spelled out etc. Instead of just putting like ECT. Is that how you do it? No, it's ETC. That's a common misconception.
Unless you had a Nintendo, an SNES, an N64, that you would get a GameCube. Like, none of my friends had GameCube.
Yeah, see, all of my friends did.
Do you own other systems from that generation? Why or why not? If so, how do you like them in comparison? So yeah, I own all of them to my knowledge. I have a Dreamcast, PS2, Xbox, and a GameCube. And I think the PS2 is the best system. I have a special place in my heart for the Dreamcast because I'm a Sega fanboy. I wish I wish they'd make a Dreamcast too. I wouldn't buy it, but I'd root for people that were buying it. I'd be like, yes, buy that Dreamcast 2.
All sorts of people bought the PlayStation 2. You know, it wasn't just Cube aficionados. You know, it was doctors, nurses, the people in hospitals that changed the blood bags. They used to have nurses for that, but I think that they just have regular people with no degrees do it now. Sometimes they put the wrong bags in by mistake. But, what was I talking about?
The sixth generation just kind of jumped off the fifth generation, where, you know, PlayStation stayed the course with its more adult gaming, 2 people to a system kind of a thing. Nintendo kept the simple, cutesy games, their titles, and then the 4, Sega said fuck it, and then Microsoft said, well, Sega's gone, we'll start hopping in here. Look how much travesty that was.
Here's a look at my PS2 collection. This goes about 3 deep. I've got 2 cubbies full of those. I got some box collection there, Metal Gear, Hitman. And then I've got a couple more cubbies of, these are just 2 deep in the back. And then down here is my GameCube collection. It doesn't quite take up, about half of a cubby, and don't you realize you're part of the problem? What problem? The PS2 sold more systems and more games than the GameCube. Why? Because it's the better system. And yes, a lot of boys bought the GameCube. But look at me, square in my vintage scuba eyes. A lot more boys bought the PS2.
But could the unthinkable be true? Was Nintendo losing touch? Could the GameCube really be an inferior machine?
I would say it's the end of Nintendo's good times before they decided to cater only to, one, the handheld market, which they deserve to. They deserve the whole Game Boy rep.
Good for them.
The PS3 has done me well. PS2, PS1, they've always treated me well, so I definitely go with PlayStation.
Okay. I was such a PlayStation kid too, man. Like, you take the games out and you put them in your car, you listen to the music on them,
We were doing that today with the Wu-Tang game.
The Wu-Tang game, Shaolin style.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So, I was such a huge PlayStation fan. The PlayStation 2, I got that, it just confirmed how PlayStation was just kicking the fuck out of everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Probably got the best overall game library of any console ever made.
However, just like an artist, unappreciated in his own time, the GameCube would later begin to mean different things to different people. For some, it was a source of secrets.
Kidoki. Ah, Easter eggs, oh yeah.
James?
Yes?
I thought you were meant to be talking about the GameCube.
Ah yes. Here is one of the greatest Easter eggs that you can discover. Number 1. No matter how many times I have turned on my GameCubes over the years, I have never tired of that classic startup sound, which is incredibly inviting, friendly, funky, and definitely one of the more memorable. And then of course there are the 2 other startup segments that can be heard. One by holding Z down on the first controller and pushing the power button on, where more of a cutesy, toy-created, child-laughing segment arrives. Then there is the ninja-style intro. Which can be activated by holding Z down on 4 controllers, where once again you must push down on the power button. However, lurking in the background of the GameCube's main menu in the form of soothing chiming is one of the greatest Easter eggs I have come across, as by taking a recording of this from the start for 1 minute and 50 seconds exactly, and then by placing it in some editing software and speeding it up so that this track is now just 7 seconds long, you can now hear a piece of music which is in actual fact the Nintendo Disk System startup tune.
And for others, it was a religion.
I guess you could consider the GameCubist a cult.
How has the GameCube and little baby Jesus collectively affected your life and your family life?
Well, you see, being a reverend, I'm not strict with my beliefs like a pastor or a preacher or Psalms chapter 14, verse 1. Fools say in their hearts, there's no GameCubes. They're corrupt. They do abominable deeds. There's no one that does good with the PlayStation.
Could the GameCube be a religion? I think the GameCube still has a lot of fans. So, I think it could be. We could do it. I mean, it could happen.
And I wish they all just drink poison Kool-Aid and die. They would all just think God is behind a comet or aliens are coming and they would just kill themselves.
I believe that my wife, I am married. I don't wear my ring. I'm sorry. But we've made beautiful, sweet love and created a beautiful child with the Nintendo power flowing through my loins. And she is beautiful. I wish she was purple like the GameCube.
How would you respond to detractors who claim that your church is being funded by Nintendo and that you're simply a cult?
Really? I don't understand the question. How is tractors asking questions to me? Tractors? That's like John Deere? What do they have to do with it? How is Sony paying John Deere to ask me questions? First of all, a tractor is farm equipment. That's like Mother Earth. Mother 3, if you will. I don't understand the reciprocations.
What do you think about those that have begun to incorporate the GameCube into their spiritual and religious practices?
Well, the GameCube has always had a tradition of being incorporated into people's spiritual practices. That's why everyone says that it has a cult following, because it appealed to the cultist in all of us. And people would often, even if they weren't playing the games, they would build some sort of a shrine in which the GameCube would play a central role. And if you open up the lid to the GameCube, what you have is like a little throne, and you can make a little doll of maybe your favorite Nintendo executive and seat him there in the throne. And then sometimes during the night, the little doll will get up and take sugar cubes from your kitchen, and it will eat those, and then unfortunately, if too many of the dolls do that, then the actual executive can develop diabetes.
A cult has minor followings, where a religion has mass followings. I believe in my Holy Spirits and sweet little baby Jesus above and below. That the GameCube is not a cult. It's a religion. And little baby Jesus, if he were here today, he'd be playing the GameCube. He'd be loving the GameCube. He'd be having the GameCube burning through his loins.
But for most, the GameCube just meant a special memory from the past.
Like myself, I'm guessing many of you have many different meanings for many different consoles, whether they be one of your first, your most recent, maybe the worst you ever experienced, or perhaps the best you've ever played. And for me, the GameCube was there when I had an operation on my jaw and I had to have it move forward a few millimeters, only to have a full-blown reaction and end up off work for a good 6 weeks. However, during my many weeks off work, I had one of the best adventures that I have ever played on any console, and that was The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. A game which split public opinion for its cel-shaded graphics, but to me really added to the experience and is something I wouldn't mind seeing later along the road in the Zelda franchise. This game took all of my pain away and I enjoyed every single moment of it.
My dad always worked different days. He had a rotating schedule, so one day I got home from school to him sitting on my sister's bed playing Animal Crossing on her pink Hello Kitty TV. And I just come inside hearing, "I caught a sea bass, sea bass, woohoo, woohoo!" And I just walked into my dad just sitting on the bed playing on this Hello Kitty TV, Animal Crossing. That is my favorite experience with the GameCube.
So Nintendo moved on from the ill-fated but much appreciated GameCube to create the GameCube with motion controls, i.e. the Nintendo Wii. But the boys who bought the GameCube never did move on. Why is this, you ask? Well, the answer is simple.
We've got like the Super Nintendo and like a Nintendo, then the Double Nintendo, and then we got the GameCube. A lot of boys bought that. Come on, boys who bought that. Yeah. Yeah.
The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the inequities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men.
As the old saying goes, a lot of boys bought the GameCube. A girl may own the GameCube, but if they say they bought one, that is when you know that they are lying.
Blessed is he who in the name of charity and goodwill shepherd the weak through the valley of darkness.
How many boys bought that?
You gonna ask me that question right now?
How many boys bought that system?
For he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost GameCubes.
A lot of boys. A lot of boys. All the boys.
And I will strike down upon thee with great fury and vengeance, Lord sweet baby Jesus, those who try to defile, destroy, and poison the GameCubes.
You name a boy who didn't buy the GameCube, he ain't a boy. He ain't even a man.
And you will know that I have the Nintendo power flowing through my veins when I strike my vengeance upon thee.
To become a man, you must first be a boy. And to be a boy, you must buy the GameCube.
For a lot of boys bought the GameCube, and the GameCube shall be bought by all.
You don't buy that? I'll fucking cut you. With my dick.
Why is this, you ask? Because a lot of boys bought the GameCube.
Motherfucker.
They're hardcore games. Games are hard, they're hardcore games. Games are hard, they're hardcore games. Games are hard, they're hardcore games. Yeah, they're so hard. They're hardcore games. Yeah, they're so hard. They're hardcore games. Tony has the cash that turns on the video game. Power light, and John has the madness that keeps you watching through the bitter night.
And we're from Hard for Gays. We're game for hard.
We're chubs for games.
We'll work for food.
Many of the weak will burn for eternity in Sony's corporate headquarters.